Hey, what's up everyone? And well, it's that time of the year again. Yep, this year, 2016 to be exact, is drawing to a close, and well, you know what that means. Time to sum it up with the best movies, video games, most underrated movies, and obviously most anticipated movies and video games of next year, 2017 to be exact. So again, keep in mind, it's just my opinion, people. No need to go apeshit if you don't agree. It's not fact. I'm sure all of you have many opinions on what you think the best and most underrated and anticipated games and movies of next year and this year are, so let's get to it. Starting with what I think the best movies are of 2016. Here we go. Number 10, Finding Dory. Alright, well, like most of these other films that are included on the list, it's probably not going to be a surprise that I've already reviewed them, obviously, and this one is no exception. And, well, if you saw the review of it, short, sweet, to the point, it's, well, worth the wait, even though it took more than, 15 years for the sequel to come around after the success of Finding Nemo, which got the Oscar for Best Animated Movie back in 2003, I think it was. It was well worth the wait. And, yeah, all the humor and animation is just as gorgeous as you remember. You got all the voices, Ellen DeGeneres, and Albert Brooks and all of them. So, yeah, it's a great continuation of the story, and, well, brings in new characters as well. So, definitely well worth it. I say Disney and Pixar definitely pulled the magic hat trick, but like I said, it took so many damn years to make. Let's just hope we get just as good as The Incredibles 2, but let's not jump the gun here. Number 9, Pete's Dragon. Obviously, this is a remake, or reboot, I should say, of an old film, which was okay, but this one is, well, one of the few exceptions that's actually better than the original. I know I haven't actually reviewed this yet, and I know Disney's pretty much doing a lot of these live-action adaptations of animated movies, but, well, the original was actually live-action with more of a cartoon dragon put in. This one is more of a, well, realistic CG dragon, and it looks a lot better. It's obviously not a musical like the old one, and, well, it's, you know, and it doesn't have, like, some of that cheesiness into it. It actually is really good. It gets off to a little bit of a slow start, but the characters and everything are very well likable. I mean, you got Robert Redford, he's great, and a bunch of other actors that you probably will notice in the film. It's definitely well worth it, and I say Disney definitely did a great job with this one. Number 8. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Okay, well, I know I haven't fully reviewed this, but for a short, quick review, which is on this list, I should say, yeah, it's a great Harry Potter prequel, even though it doesn't have Harry Potter in it, and it is a little over 2 hours, but it was very entertaining, and I did not see it in 3D, obviously, because I'm usually not for 3D. You can throw your facts at me, whether it was actually worth it or not, but I think I made the right choice by not seeing it in 3D. It might have been good, but that's not the point. It's a great film. Characters are very well liked. It's sort of like an X-Men meets Harry Potter type of deal. You know, it comes to New York this time, and it's obviously not in Hogwarts, even though there's mention of Hogwarts and all that stuff. And obviously, it's all about, you know, trying to keep their magic a secret and all that, and how they look upon, you know, magic and wizards as like the devil or something, kind of like witchcraft or something. And it's a lot more to it than that. But not to give too much away. Great characters, great story, and great effects, too, as well. I'm definitely looking forward to more of these, which they did say there's going to be a sequel, but this one is well worth it. It's definitely got the magic still, even without Harry Potter himself. Number 7, Doctor Strange. Yeah, you're expecting a lot of comic books films on this list. Well, this is the first one, obviously, and this one did not disappoint, even though it's a little strange at some parts. Yeah, obviously, yeah, pun intended right there, Doctor Strange, and obviously, like I said, I reviewed this one, like all the other ones that are on this, well, most of the other ones that you'll probably see on this list, like I said before. Yeah, the acting was great. You know, it's a lot to take in for a film, as I said in the review on this film just recently, and obviously, spoiler alert, it is Avengers related, surprisingly. And yes, there are after credit scenes, but yeah, the character's well liked, and there is some humor thrown in. The effects are very well done, especially seeing it in IMAX. I was really surprised at that, but yeah, just another example that Marvel can pull the hat trick on this one. Number 6, Kubo and the Two Strings. Well, not much to say. Already reviewed this one too as well, and I think this film is definitely at least looking at an Oscar nomination, as well as a couple other animated films that are on this list. One I just reviewed already, and this one, well, I already reviewed it and explained that by this same studio that did, of course, Coraline and Paranorman, Box Trolls, and so forth. Yeah, they just got it going still. Might be a little creepy, but that's what they're known for, and the animation, as always, is astounding. It's got great imagination to it, great humor, it's definitely well worth it. Number 5, Deadpool, yeah, another Marvel comic movie, and, well, another X-Men movie, I should say. This one's a little bit different. You know, I reviewed this earlier this year, like I said, and Ryan Reynolds was superb, and as you guessed, it originally was slated to be a PG-13 rated movie, and we can all agree that would have never worked. Ryan Reynolds did not want to be a part of it originally, so they went for the R rating, and lo and behold, cursing up the ass, and, yeah, excuse my language, but that's pretty much what you'd expect out of this movie, and that's what the character is like. I mean, what'd you expect him to be, a complete pussy? Of course not. He's humorous, he's funny, and the movie itself is completely out of control with humor. And yeah, I know you got to have the right mindset to really enjoy this, because it's one of those pokes fun at itself type of films, and has a lot of great humor and action and blood, of course, and even nudity and so forth. So yeah, I know this is obviously not for kids unless they can really you know, be mature enough to really handle this type of film from Marvel, because it's not very often you see a Marvel film that goes for an R rating with this much cursing and violence and so forth, but I'd say it definitely hit the mark on this part, so definitely well worth it. Number 4, Conjuring 2. Well, another one I already reviewed back in June, and the first one was great back in 2013, and this one I think delivers just as much. Yeah, you could pretty much forget about Annabelle, and yes, I'm well aware there's a sequel coming out next year, but maybe it could be better than the first one. Like the Ouija movie that came out this year was better than the one that came out 2 years prior, but I'm not getting my hopes sky high on that one. What do you expect when you got the same director that did Mortal Kombat Annihilation to do the first Annabelle movie? But anyway, yeah, this movie was the one to watch. This is the true sequel. That's obviously a prequel spin-off, but not to get too carried away. This one, James Wan was back in full force, directing a sequel, and yeah, I know, the Amityville scene, you might complain, seemed kind of pointless, even though they mentioned it at the end of the first one, that Ed and Lorraine Warren were going to investigate, and, well, this movie focuses mainly on the Enfield poltergeist, which is an alleged true story. Well, call it a hoax all you want, they said the same thing with the Amityville, but you know what, as long as it sells, and as long as it gets the scares and chills, which it sure did, the acting was great, the characters were likable, Ed and Lorraine Warren were back, as you would guess, and there isn't much to say about it. It might be a little bit long, but for the most part, I think it holds up very well. So, definitely check it out. I mean, James Wan has not disappointed yet. Number 3, Captain America Civil War. Yes, another Marvel mega hit here. Yeah, and this one certainly doesn't disappoint. The Avenger movies keep them coming because they're only getting better, and Captain America is no exception. Winter Soldier was great, even better than the first, and this one I think was probably just as good. It's a lot to follow in the movie, a lot to take in. I know it's a lot of political mumbo-jumbo this time around, but I consider this like episode 1 of Star Wars done right. You know, not too much political crap thrown in there. It's, you know, it's balanced right. They cut the bullshit and they get right to the good stuff. Obviously, as you guessed, if you saw my review, it's about, you know, the line is drawn between Iron Man and Captain America's team because Iron Man's team wants to be, you know, government controlled and Captain America doesn't. So, yeah, and the fight scene between their two teams is superb. I mean, yes, they bring in a new Spider-Man, which was a little iffy on, and yes, I'm well aware he's getting his own movie that's coming out next year. You know, they're rebooting it again. I know your guys are probably getting all pissed off about that. How many times are they going to keep doing this? And, of course, yeah, of course, they introduce Black Panther, and of course they bring back Ant-Man. You'd probably guess he's part of the Avengers, and so forth. So, yeah, it's a great film. A little bit long, but it's well worth it. I mean, the Captain America himself is still Captain. Number 2, Moana by Disney. Yes, another Disney film. This is the one that you probably guessed was coming, aside from another one that this same studio did before. And, well, this one did not disappoint. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect out of the plot for this movie. I knew The Rock does a voice in this film, and he's always as likable of an actor as you can guess. I mean, he was great in a lot of films. Even in the most cheesy ones, he has plenty of charm and humor. And this film is no exception. Plenty of great humor, plenty of great musical numbers, and wow, the scenery is just as gorgeous as ever. Yes, I did like Zootopia, but this one just blew my mind. It was just well worth it. I mean, Disney's definitely looking at an Oscar nomination, maybe even a win for this one. I mean, boy, they're just on a roll. This one not only reminded me that I love Disney films, but why I love Disney films. So, say whatever you want, people. If you like Zootopia or Frozen better, that's fine. I did love Wreck-It Ralph, but this one, I'd say it just beats Zootopia right out of the box right here. Alright, well, before I get to number 1 spot, obviously I'm going to do a few honorable mentions here. So, yep, Zootopia. Yeah, you probably saw this one coming. As I said with Moana, I definitely love that one better. I mean, at first I put it at number 2 spot, but this one I'd still say is worth it. I mean, you got great voice acting out of especially Jason Bateman and J.K. Simmons and so forth. Obviously, I think the whole idea of the film is, I guess, like racism or something, you know, like the fact that animals, you know, like foxes and, you know, the fact that they were predator and prey, couldn't get along, and then they finally put aside their differences, and obviously it's about, you know, Bunny who wanted to be a cop, and she beats all the odds and all that stuff and investigates crime. It's a really amusing story, especially the slot scene, which is really hilarious. And there's obviously some nods to other Disney films, like pretty much every other Disney film has, like to Frozen and Big Hero 6 and so forth, so definitely check it out. Not as good as Moana, but it's still worth it, at least one watch. Sully, yeah, the true story film. About who? Obviously Captain Sullenberger, or Sully for short. Yeah, that's what this movie's about. Obviously it's about how he lands the plane in the Hudson out of some miracle and in freezing cold water, and everybody on board, including himself and his co-pilot, survive. Yeah, you're probably wondering how the hell they make this into a full movie. It's a lot of flashbacks, and it might be a little slow at the beginning in some parts, but when it gets good, it gets good. And it's really a very well-to-liked story about, you know, basic idea is human error is much different than, you know, computer models and stuff. You know, life is not a video game. That's the basic concept of this movie, and I think Tom Hanks pulled it off pretty well. I know everyone's probably getting tired of him playing the captains, like with Captain Phillips and everything, but it's only an hour and a half long. I know it might be slow at some parts, like I said, but I think it was well worth at least one watch. I think Clint Eastwood definitely pulled it off this time. After a few blunders that he's had over the past couple of years, he's finally bounced back, I think. Especially after American Sniper 2. That was also a great film. Star Trek Beyond. Yes, I know I haven't reviewed this one either, just like, well, the past 2 Star Trek movies, but I definitely included them on my best of, you know, whatever year they came out list. And this one, I was surprised, because of course we all know J.J. Abrams dropped out of directing this, and I think instead he produced it, I think. And he's not even directing the next 2 Star Wars movies, not including Rogue One. I'm talking about Episode 8 and 9. But yeah, obviously he did great with Episode 7, and I know people's minds are shifted more towards Star Wars now that that franchise has pretty much gained a lot of momentum since it's, well, pretty much knocked the shit out of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I mean, who would want that film to really... You could forget about that film, but not to get too carried away, I think this film did great. It brought in new characters and everything, and people may have not liked Into Darkness and all that stuff for pretty much reusing Khan, but I think it did great with bringing in newer ones, and it had some nice tributes, and it's kind of a shame that actor, I forgot what his name was, he was like 20-something, passed away, you know. I send my respect to him and his family and everything. It was really a shame what happened last June to him, but yeah, he did a great job, and so did all the other actors in this film, including Chris Pine and so forth. So, yep, great continuation of the series, and, well, couldn't get any better than that, right? Race. Yeah, Olympic movie. I was a little iffy on this one, but as you know, obviously this is one of those, you know, desegregation type films, you know, especially taking place during World War II, when it was pretty much at the heat of battle right there. Yeah, it's a great, well-acted film. I was surprised to even see Jeremy Irons in this, too, as well. But yeah, it was definitely well worth it. It was a little bit long, but it had me really glued to my seat when I watched this one. It was definitely entertaining, and like I said, it's one of those, racial-type films similar to, like, 42 and White Men Don't Jump, and this one, I think, did a great job, and it's obviously a true story, and, well, I can definitely believe it. Kung Fu Panda 3. Obviously, I reviewed this one, and why I'm only including it as an honorable mention, well, I did think it was great, but once all these other films came around, like, especially Moana, it pretty much, well, knocked this film's socks off right off the bat. And not to insult this movie, it's still well worth watching, and I was a little worried that it was not going to pull off the magic hat trick for a third movie, especially after seeing Shrek the Third, which was pretty much the typical third movie right there. But this one surprised me quite a lot, and, well, there's a great continuation. Po gets reunited with his father, has to battle another villain, as you guessed if you saw my review of it, and I think the villain was really badass this time around, especially being voiced by J.K. Simmons. Yeah, no, another animated film voiced by him, right? It was definitely worth it, and I definitely check it out. The animation is just as gorgeous as ever, and Jack Black and as Poe is just as funny as ever. It's definitely well worth it. At least one watch. Eddie the Eagle, yes, another Olympic movie. I know, I got a lot of honorable mentions on this list, but I had to include this one, and yeah, I know it came out just after Race came out, and I was a little iffy on this one, and I was especially iffy by the fact that its studio is Marv, the same studio that did Kingsman and the Kick-Ass movies, and I was like, wait, is this a comic book movie? No, it's obviously a true story film about, as you guessed, Eddie the Eagle, the ski jumper, who beats all odds and, well, joins the Olympics with Hugh Jackman playing coach, the guy who helps him along his journey. It's obviously a very injury-inducing sport, as you guessed, but he beats all odds and pretty much earns the respect of everybody. I mean, especially after his parents doubted him. It's a very well-likable story, and characters are likable. It's definitely well worth it. There's even actually a little bit of mention of Cool Runnings in this as well in a brief scene, but yeah, I think Marv definitely pulled it off. I'm just surprised. I mean, usually they do comic book movies, like I said, but yep, definitely well worth it. And the number one best movie of 2016, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, people, Arrival. Alright, well, yeah, this is obviously another Alien movie, and I was iffy on this one when I saw the trailer, and I was like, what, is this going to be another Alien movie where aliens come to Earth and they find out they're hostile, another War of the Worlds? I mean, you're probably like, yeah, we've seen this a bazillion times, but no, it's surprisingly really good. I'd say this is like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind of this decade. I mean, there's a lot more to it, and I know it can be slow at some parts. I mean, Close Encounters of the Third Kind had slow parts too as well. But trust me, this film definitely, it's getting a lot of Oscar buzz now, and I can definitely see why. I mean, the acting and performances, especially at Amy Adams and the same guy who's played Hawkeye from the Avenger movies, they were definitely superb. And, well, I'd say it was definitely worth it. I'm not going to really give too much away, because a lot of you probably haven't seen it, but if you have, I'm sure most of you can agree with me. It's definitely a rival worth waiting for. So, yep, that's my list. Comments, but please try to refrain from negative or especially obscene comments, but that's my list, and it's just my opinion, people. No, I have not seen Hacksaw Ridge, just to let you know, or La La Land. I know those two films are also great, but obviously, as I said, that's my list, so till next time, keep watching.